Can you tell us where it stands with the xray cargo facility that was going to be put on the Hamilton docks?
Well, there's a blue building up down there, Mr. Darby.
No delays?
Not as far as I am aware. Certainly I would ask the collector, who probably is more intimately involved in this than I am. But my initial briefing was that we are on target to have it come online.
The xray unit will go in operation shortly, sometime in March. It's pretty well on schedule. The building is up and running. We're about to install the actual equipment, and we're about to start the actual building for the office environment for the officers to work from, and the examination center, which will be located on the corner number 7 shed. So it's well on the way.
Any other questions?
Kind of actually, the 200,000 you referred to, that was cash seizures, was it, at the borders? That doesn't sound like a great amount in the context. What percentage do you imagine that is of the cash coming through the border?
Well, one has to look at it in its proper context. If you look at what has been seized versus what drugs have been seized in the country, and you do a relative comparison, I think you'll see that there's been a dramatic reduction in the amount of drugs that have been seized in Bermuda in 2010. That is as a direct result of efforts overseas where the drugs are being seized and those people are being interdicted before they get to Bermuda. And so they are a matter for other people's courts and other people's jurisdictions. So clearly, some of the money is getting out of the country. I wouldn't guess what $13 million worth of drugs cost, but I suspect they cost something. And so there is some success there. But on the backside of it, again, you're having the success in preventing the drugs from entering Bermuda.
See if there's less drugs in circulation now than there once was as a result of international efforts.
And I think if you do a relative comparison, you'll see there's a reduction in the amount of seizures as well.
Could I? Oh, thank you. Could the collector perhaps give some examples or an example of how that sort of cash would be seized? In what kind of situation would that take place?
There are a number of ways that money is seized, but the majority of that seizure that the Minister has referenced today has been taken from passengers departing Bermuda who have not declared it.
Thank you.
One of our aims actually is part of one of the challenges that we face as a jurisdiction, in my view, and I've not had any wide discussions on this, is a desire to have exit immigration. And what that means is that you have immigration officers, as you do in many countries, who vet those people leaving the jurisdiction. What we have at the moment is very much an ad hoc arrangement, where people based on intelligence, based on their suspicions, will target individuals. But it's not a coordinated effort at all. But of course, again, that costs money. And you'll know that we talk a lot about budget these days, and increasing it is not something that resonates very much with the Minister of Finance.
In view of the number of cases of drugs being shipped in boats, yachts, either to or from Bermuda, certainly the $13 million one was possibly coming to Bermuda, has anything been done about the Coast Guard plans that you had made to keep the regiment and the police and the customs together in a kind of united force to make a barrier around Bermuda?
It hasn't advanced as swiftly as I would like. It's unlikely to do so in terms of joining up those two organizations. And mostly that's as a result of funding. But I am having some other discussions, none of which I wish to go into at this stage, in terms of trying to enhance that ability without the necessary significant expenditure of funds.
I don't think I need it. In the seizing of cash going out, are you also paying close attention to financial transactions, which may perhaps be going to the wire transfer agencies and banking systems, because the amounts must be large if we're importing as much as $13 million in value?
You're absolutely correct. Certainly the banking institutions are too vigilant as far as I'm concerned
are not too...
No, they are too vigilant. And I'll give you a practical example, practical personal example. I tried to pay $100 US cash of my American Express, and they wouldn't take it. They said, "We don't do cash." I'm thinking, well, you can't leave money loaning $100. So clearly, you know, the mechanisms are in place at all of the financial institutions to ensure that they know where the monies are coming from.
I understand that, because I had exactly the same problem. But somewhere along the line, someone must be able to get the funds through it. Are the wire transfer agencies watched as closely as the banks?
The short answer is yes. You may recall that we went through a lengthy period where Western Union did not exist in the country because they couldn't get permission to provide the proper checks and balances to operate. And so, you know, in order to meet that criteria with the BMA, they were able to do that and satisfy them, and so now they're back in business.
And back to the exit immigration thing, that means then that the possibility of having an exit immigration check is more viable, perhaps possibly almost not a last line, but a next line of attack.
Exactly. It is a desire that we have. We are looking at, clearly, the Minister of Finance has made it clear that, you know, money is tight, and everybody knows that. We are looking within our ministry about how we can reorganize and refashion so that we can implement some of these things without asking for additional funding.